Hey everyone, I'm here with Angela Chuy, president of Wonton King, and the current president of EO Calgary, which we want to touch on as well. Angela, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Jeff.
That is
Good
good.
to see you.
No, absolutely, you as well. Angela, can you give us a bit of background on yourself and the company and just kind of the current situation for you guys?
Sure. So I am the founder and president of Aromas of Asia and Wonton King. We're in the food space, and we produce Chinese food to distribute into our retail restaurants and grocery stores and food service. So as we all know, restaurants have been hit really, really hard by this crisis and this pandemic, and it has been unlike anything that I have experienced in the past 30 years that I've been in business.
You know what? And that's the thing. There's a lot of talk about restaurants. And I mean, and I don't know the business that well, but I mean, most restaurants run on pretty thin margins as it is. So to be shut down, because I think you mentioned you've been shut down for, is it 2 months now?
Yeah, it's been 2 months, and absolutely. So we're a high volume, low margin or thin margin business, and when it comes to making, if you take a look at the traditional model, it really is. You have to focus on quality and price and consistency and customer service. And there's a lot of high touch points, but when you're A, closed, and B, when things shift in our market and behavior patterns change, that high touch point has to come in other ways. And so we just reopened all of our stores this week, Jeff, and we've been met with a lot of positivity and a lot of enthusiasm. What's interesting, however, and not surprising, is that the numbers are less. The numbers that came in through our doors were less than what we had anticipated, and we had discounted our foot traffic by quite a bit. So I'm hoping that that will improve over the next few months.
Well, you've got that. And now, can you talk a little bit about some of the extra costs you have now? I mean, with the sanitization and everything else, I mean, it's kind of a double whammy. You're getting hit by both sides.
Right. So the safety of our staff and the safety of the public is our foremost concern, in addition to, the pillars that we hang our business on. But in order to effectively deliver all this, we have had to increase the cost. So, of course, the sanitation is one thing, manning it to ensure that we keep everything according to, hyper clean. But really, some of the costs are behind the scenes and not ones that we could even catch up on. The food chain has been disrupted. That is a very real cost that's come in through our doors. We serve wontons, and 90% of our product is in pork. The price is doubled, or not doubled, it increased by 50%. And we can't increase our menu costs by that much. And so how is it that a business model like this, and how can we mitigate some of these rising costs, right? And that doesn't include some of, notwithstanding the support that the government is giving, for which we are very, very grateful, be it rent or labor. I would say that it's a formula that keeps changing every day, and we have to be on top of being nimble at this time to manage our margins.
Well, you know what, and I think that's the thing too, that I think some people, most people realize, but I mean, places like your restaurants and the food you provide, I mean, they're part of our local culture. I mean, they're things, and that's my concern, is that I think that after this, my concern is we're going to lose a lot of restaurants and businesses just because they can't simply survive. And that's a bit of a fear. But I mean, what are you hearing in the industry? I mean, is there any talk about what kind of impact this will have long term? Are we going to lose 10%, or is it going to be a bigger number? Do we even know that?
I think that number has yet to be determined. It will be a large part, simply because of again, it's based on volumes and margins, unless you sell alcohol, which then it's a whole different game. It's not really a traditional restaurant. You're looking at a bar. But so we're quick service. We're in the quick service industry, and what my peers and I have done have really pivoted. So I'm very lucky in that, in growing and scaling our companies. So again, quick service restaurants. We've got 4 of them. We distribute, like I said, into grocery stores and food service. So what many of us have done is created a greater channel to distribute to homes and other platforms that are sending food, delivering homes into food. And so we have been, our sales on meal kits and wholesaling, white labeling our products through food service has been I wouldn't say saving grace, but has been opportunities upon which we are definitely focusing on. It'll be very challenging to go forward with a dine-in model. Because really you can only have at this point half the capacity, but also then how do you protect the public and protect your staff when your store capacity is say 100 people and you can only serve 50, right? Yeah, there are definitely some challenges. So we've just been pivoting, and yes, that is a word that a lot of people is using, but it's like the word that nimbleness and pivoting is essential right now to creating opportunities in the future. And for us, again, it is wholesaling and getting the product out into people's homes so that they don't have to come out, that we'll send it to them.
So if somebody did want to buy your products, they can, how can they get them? Directly through your website? And what stores are you guys distributed through if somebody wanted to get some of your products locally?
So we're in over 20 Calgary co-ops in their freezer cabins. And also, so we've got 6 SKUs with the Calgary co-op. We also distribute into Alberta Health Services on the retail side, so in their cafeterias. And on that also, we've got 4 retail fronts as well. But we've also been working with some groups where they're fundraising. And so, they would buy bulk ready to serve meals from us as well.
Oh, great. Angela, we touched on Entrepreneurs Organization, and you're the current president of EO, the Calgary Chapter. What are you hearing from your position there? I mean, obviously there's a lot of members that are turning to the organization, but can you talk a little bit about the impact EO has had?
Absolutely, I would be happy to. EO has been the bedrock of helping myself and many of my peers through this challenging time. And the reason being is because, as you know, Jeff, having been an EO member, we're a peer-to-peer group. And so it's not an advisory group, it's not a networking group, it's a you are my equal organization. And I've been a member for 5 years now, and I would say that during my journey through being a member and then also being a part of the board and now being president, there have just been so many different threads. So I'll start off with Forum. We all know that Forum is a reflective group wherein we share our experiences. But I mean, more tactically, right now, I'm also part of an international virtual group that is in my industry. And we're based so we've got members in the restaurant or in the food industry forum, we call it, that are in the US, that are in South Africa, that's in Asia, and in Canada. And so we're able to see the fluctuations in buying patterns, and we're also able to leverage off of quick trends and things that are happening right now during COVID. We're sharing material such as materials on how to shift and pivot, obviously, effectively. And we're each trying it out and giving each other by the day, play-by-play updates on how our tactical strategies are working so that we can adapt immediately. We don't believe in recreating the wheel, and so we share a lot of playbooks and processes and procedure manuals so that we can spend time improving the relationship with our families or with our companies and with our team members. Just that, for more the operational things, we're there to support each other. But it's also been such a great landing place, Jeff, for us to be completely vulnerable and authentic. Some of the biggest challenges that I've experienced in my career, I just can't share that with my family members or my friends. And that's not being disrespectful. That's simply that they don't necessarily have that same perspective. And so when you're in a group of individuals who also experience, albeit different industries, experience the same challenges with HR, with procurement, with so many other elements, it's almost as if you pose your challenge and you can already see that they're connecting the dots as it relates to them. And then they bring forth their experience on how they dealt with that challenge. And from that thread, you can see all these light bulbs coming out on it. It's a very powerful, organization if you tap into and get involved with the groups, the various groups within.
Well, you know what, and I was in a forum group for 17 years, and it's funny that you can be in completely different types of businesses, but really the foundations of dealing with people and finances and marketing and personal challenges and balance and everything, it's very similar regardless of what your business is. So I like the idea, though, of being able to tap into an international group. I mean, that's got to be pretty powerful to be able to understand what other people from a similar industry or the same industry are doing in other parts of the world. That's
it is. Yeah, it is phenomenal. And you know what actually is really powerful as well? And I love this endeavor that you're undertaking. We're in it together. And yes, we're in it together in Calgary, in Alberta, but really we're a global community. And so we are all in this together in the sense that yes, it's like a paradox where we're isolated, we're safely isolating right now. But to be able to be on a Zoom call with someone in South Africa who's sharing his challenges makes all of us feel like we are going to get through this. And not only that, obviously with some great experience and, like I said, tactical shares. But more importantly, Jeff, wouldn't you say as well that in your experience with EO, that you've come upon a group of individuals who are very curious-minded and growth-orientated, and in many regards look at life in a positive fashion? And that's been such a great levity throughout this last few months, is that being around people who are very selective with the words that they choose, because it creates their reality. And then by that, they also take action. They don't just talk. We take action based on our discussions, and it's been like I said, it's very positive. It's a very positive foundation.
You know what? I did an interview with James Bocher and Mandy Ballack a couple of weeks ago, and Mandy mentioned the comment. She says, don't go to the hardware store for milk, and that's the thing. I mean, we love our friends and family.
Yeah.
But sometimes they're not the best source of information when you're deciding on financing or whether you should, make that move or that, this move in business. And so, so with EO, I mean, typically for EO, there's some qualifications to get in. You got to, I think it's $1 million plus in revenue, but there's also Accelerator. So there are ways for people to get involved in a group like EO, is there not?
Absolutely. So yes, EO has $1 million in revenue precursor in order to get in. That's US dollars. But I'm so glad that you brought up Accelerator, because Accelerator is an arm of EO. It's one of the programs wherein I believe in order to qualify, it's $250,000. The power of Accelerator is that there are elements within Accelerator, such as having a forum group and having a peer-to-peer group wherein you're learning together, but it really goes back to the basics, and they've got the fundamentals and the building blocks of what is required from cash management, from a labor standpoint, from an HR standpoint, so there's building blocks that are built within Accelerator. You've got a peer group that will help you through this program. It's a 3-year program as well that helps you through. And so there's continuity, there's consistency, and there's feedback. And many of the mentors and coaches and the people that are organizing this are very experienced, and not just tenured, but experienced EO members who are across the board. So it's not necessarily driven by how much money their companies bring in, but certainly there's such a wide breadth of industry that our Accelerator members benefit from.
You know what? And I always say to people, I mean, I love EO, there's YPO, there's Accelerator. We
Yes.
know as well now that, I mean, money can be tight for people. And I always say to people that even if you maybe don't have the funds to join a group like that, reach out to somebody who has a different experience, reach out to somebody. And I think that, and again, get your thoughts on this, but I mean, most business people, if I get a phone call from somebody who's running a business and going, hey, I'm stuck, I've always got the time for people like that, because I think we're just in our nature as entrepreneurs, we want to help other entrepreneurs. But any thoughts on that?
Yeah, we really are. Again, you know, okay, you know that it's not what we do that leaves an impression, it's how we make people feel, right? Maya Angelou, I know that I didn't say that properly, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
People remember us for how we make them feel. And it's so prevalent in our organization where there's a how can I help you mentality, and even reaching out to, be it me or someone on the board, or EO Accelerator. I mean, just look us up. There, it's amplified. So you make one phone call, and that one phone call leads to, well, you can talk to this. I can this individual. I can introduce you to another, and it grows from there. But the first thing that I found, even in my last few weeks, is you have to reach out. And sometimes it's probably the most challenging part, but we are all interested in helping one another out because we are a community. And that's the only way that we can get through this, Jeff, is by helping each other out. We just never know where those tangents will run.
No, I agree with you. And I think that's the thing, is that entrepreneurs, we obviously want to succeed ourselves, but we want to see others succeed, and we'll do anything we can to support other businesses. And that's why, you know, I appreciate people like you taking the time for this. Just in closing, Angela, any words of advice or thoughts you would have for other business leaders that are out there?
Yeah, Jeff, one of the three things that I really focus on when I'm when I'm in the trees and not looking at the forest, and when I get probably a little too granular for my own good, I go back to, the first thing is sleep, the second is connection, and the third one is cash and cash management. Sleep is just the foundational building block of energy, and we need that in order to be able to make sound decisions, to be able to take care of not just us, but the people that rely on us. And the second one is connection. I touched on it earlier. It's the people that we surround ourselves with. It's the people who give energy and not just take energy, that are positive and are lifting you in moments where you need a little bit more support. And by nature, we're going to be giving it back. But it's so important to curate who it is that you're surrounding yourself with. It doesn't necessarily have to be just people, but it also can be what you're listening to with, master classes or coaches that are available these days. So the message that is coming into our minds is very important. And finally, this is a practical thing, but also essential. Cash is an optimizer, and it breeds opportunity. And I know that many companies right now are faced with cash crunch, but that doesn't mean to say that there aren't opportunities. It simply is that be very mindful of how it's being deployed, and the cash management standpoint, because it basically will magnify our runway and other opportunities. So just keeping an eye to, again, sleep, to our connections, the messages that we allow into our brain. And finally, every penny saved is a penny earned, but also this is the time to be deploying capital wisely, because things are not always going to be like this. It will improve, and what we do today will certainly magnify in the future.
I love that, Angela. And the first one, the sleep one, is important. You do need to make it a priority, because I've had numerous conversations with people that said, in these tough times and when they're stressed, you have a lot of sleepless nights. And so you got to find a way to put your mind at ease, figure out a way to settle down and make sure you're getting that sleep, because trying to deal with these stressful times on 2 or 3 hours of sleep it's that foundation. So I agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah, we can't let our amygdala hijack us, and we really have to move to, not to get scientific, but move from that limbic brain into the prefrontal cortex in order for us to make wiser decisions. And good sleep breeds better decisions and a better lifestyle.
No, perfect. Angela, thank you so much for taking the time today, for being a good friend of mine, and for your leadership on EO this past year. I mean, you picked a good year to be the president of EO. Lots of challenges, so thanks for everything.
It's been a wonderful growth opportunity, and it's not just certainly been me, but it's been our entire peer group that has lifted our community. And Jeff, I want to thank you back for actually taking the time and the effort and the courage to say, I'm going to spend my time curating wonderful stories of Calgarians, Albertans, and maybe you're even going beyond our borders here and helping us share all these stories and messages that we have. It's you and it's these messages that's going to help us grow together and stronger.
Well, I appreciate that. And, you know, that is the thing. And we will get through all this together. And so thanks, Angela. Take care, stay safe, and hopefully we'll see you in person sometime soon.
I look forward to it. And I want a hug too. Thank you.
Absolutely, 100%.
Thanks, Jeff.
Bye now.
Bye.